All right, let's dive right into this explainer and figure out exactly how the macula needs nutrients to defend itself against age-related vision loss. We are literally talking about one of the most metabolically hungry tissues in your entire body. Understanding how to fuel it correctly, it's absolutely crucial if we want to keep our sight sharp as we age. We're going on a pretty amazing micro to macro journey today. We'll kick things off with the macula's massive appetite, check out the macula pigment shield, untangle the whole treatment versus prevention supplement debate, build an eye-friendly plate, and finally, look beyond the dinner plate. Let's get into it. To set the stage here, just look at this number. 11 million. The National Eye Institute estimates that right now, roughly 11 million people in the US have age-related macular degeneration. That is a massive portion of the population, and that risk, it jumps substantially with every passing year. So with stakes that high, you've got to wonder, do our daily meals actually have the power to protect our eyes from this looming threat? I mean, we all grew up hearing eat your carrots, right? But the actual science is way more nuanced. We need to look at how specific nutrients interact with the precise biology of the eye. And to understand how to feed it, we have to understand how it works. Section 1, the macula's massive appetite. Let's look at the biological engine. Okay, let's start with a quick baseline. AMD targets the macula, which is this incredibly specialized, tiny area right near the center of your retina. This is the spot that gives us that sharp, central vision we rely on every single day. We're talking reading, driving, recognizing faces. AMD doesn't usually cause pitch-black blindness, but it actively robs older adults of that crucial central detail. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast between the two main forms of late AMD. You've got dry AMD, which is way more common. It's the slow, progressive loss of retinal cells that eventually leaves permanent dead zones in your central vision. But then you have wet AMD. This is caused by abnormal blood vessels growing and basically leaking fluid. It causes incredibly rapid vision loss. But unlike the dry form, we actually have these highly effective medications, anti-VEGF shots, that can stop that vessel growth in its tracks and even reverse the vision loss, which is just incredible. But why does the macula break down in the first place? Well, think of it like a high-performance sports car engine that is constantly redlining. It is packed with cone photoreceptors demanding massive, massive amounts of oxygen and energy just to turn light into electrical signals. But burning all that oxygen, it generates a dangerous cellular exhaust known as lipofuscin. You combine that toxic exhaust with continuous light exposure and easily oxidized fatty acids, and man, you've got the perfect storm for severe cellular stress over a lifetime. Which brings us to Section 2, the macular pigment shield. Let's see how the eye selectively defends itself against all that stress. To survive its own intense environment, the eye actually builds a specialized shield called the macular pigment, and it's constructed from 3 very specific carotenoids: lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. It's pretty amazing. Lutein and zeaxanthin come straight from your diet, while mesozeaxanthin is produced right there in the retina. Together, they act like a pair of internal biological sunglasses, absorbing high-energy light and neutralizing all that dangerous cellular exhaust. This leads to what I think is a truly magical piece of human biology. The retina doesn't just, passively wait around for nutrients to float by. It is an active hunter. It selectively accumulates exactly the molecules it needs. It literally pulls these specific yellow pigments straight out of your bloodstream to construct its own specialized armor. It's just a stunning example of your body transforming what you eat into a physical, protective shield. So knowing the macula hunts for these exact nutrients, you'd probably assume everyone should just pop an eye vitamin, right? Well, the clinical reality is a lot more specific. Section 3, supplements, treatment versus prevention. Let's look at the AREDS trials. If you really want to understand eye nutrition, you have to look at the landmark AREDS and AREDS2 clinical trials. The original trial proved that a massive, high-dose combo of vitamins and minerals actually reduced the risk of advancing to severe AMD. But science evolves, right? In AREDS2, researchers realized that the high doses of beta-carotene were actually increasing lung cancer risk in smokers, so they completely pulled it out. Instead, they swapped in our macular shield heroes, massive doses of lutein and zeaxanthin, making the whole formula safer and even more effective. But here is where the conversation almost always gets derailed. Let me be crystal clear on this. AREDS2 supplements are a medical treatment designed to slow disease progression in sick eyes. They are absolutely not a magic prevention pill for healthy ones. The trials never showed that taking huge vitamin doses stops AMD from starting in the first place. Biological theory is great, but at the end of the day, clinical effectiveness is what actually matters. So if high-dose supplements aren't the answer for everyday prevention, we need to zoom out to the food matrix. We need to translate this clinical science right onto our dinner tables. Section 4, the eye-friendly plate. While we don't have definitive proof that one single magical superfood prevents AMD, all the strong research points straight toward a Mediterranean-style dietary pattern. You don't just eat isolated lutein in a vacuum. You eat real dark leafy greens like kale and spinach. You eat colorful peppers for the beta-carotene and beans for plant-based zinc. And crucially, you eat nuts and seeds. Why? Because lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble, so those healthy fats in nuts actively help your body absorb the carotenoids from your leafy greens. That synergy right there, that is the food matrix in action. But we can't just stop at the kitchen table. To truly safeguard your vision, we have to look at the bigger picture. Because your retina is fundamentally an extension of your overall vascular and metabolic health. Section 5. Beyond the dinner plate. The reality is, the exact same factors that damage your heart will also destroy the delicate tissues of your eye. Step 1. Do not smoke. It is literally the absolute strongest controllable risk factor for AMD. Steps 2 and 3. Keep your blood pressure under control and stay physically active. Remember, that high-performance engine in your macula demands heavy, clean blood flow to survive. And finally, get regular, comprehensive dilated eye exams. Early AMD often has zero symptoms, so just waiting around until your vision gets blurry is a really terrible strategy. So we've seen how the macula burns through oxygen, how it selectively hunts down pigments to build its own shield, and how it completely relies on your vascular health to survive a lifetime of intense light. Now, good nutrition isn't going to rewrite your genetics or stop time, but your next thousands of meals are building the exact biological environment in which your retina will either thrive or falter. So the question is, are you feeding a thriving biological engine today, or are you just letting the cellular exhaust build up?